Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Thirsty Thursday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host again today. My name is Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast, the west coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, I'm here to assist. My name is Mike Piwowarski. I'll be your co-host for the day. I'm the co-host from the East Coast. That's the East Coast is the coast with the most because I'm the co-host with the most. Here on the Rundown, we're bringing you 2A views and conservative news. Craig, happy Thirsty Thursday to you today.
Happy Thirsty Thursday. Folks, we call it Thirsty Thursday because we are thirsting for the weekend. We're thirsting for having a good time. Oftentimes, this is usually when we are successful in beginning the weekend. This is our first greatest likelihood of getting the weekend started. And I don't know, though, that that's going to be the case this week.
Yeah, this today has been one of those look around and go, crap, I got to start packing for SHOT Show, leaving the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not just like packing for any week-long thing, because see, you've got to, first of all, it's Vegas, so you've got to make sure that you pack for warm weather during the day and freezing weather at night, because once again, you are in fact in the desert. But then there's also all of the gear that we have to take, you for the radio show, myself for the TV show. And it's always fun, once again, when you are both the technical person and the talent. You know how it is, man. You got to make sure you got everything. You go through, you make a list, you check it twice, and invariably you will forget something.
Oh yeah, and it's always the smallest thing, like a memory card. Something this big, and you can't go on without it.
Right, or a cable, some sort of cable.
Yeah. Always something little. And don't forget, you don't just bring one change of clothes. You got to have your clothes for the radio show. You got to have your clothes for the TV show. You got to have your clothes for running around on the floor. Your clothes for dinner, and then your clothes for going out at night for the rest of the meetings that you go to. So it's like 5 outfits a day you got to bring.
Exactly. And the how shall I say, the Second Amendment fashionistas will call you out if you are not appropriately attired.
Yeah, you'll get hey, isn't that the shirt you were wearing on the radio show at 10 o'clock this morning? And you're like, no, I have more than one.
You mean the shirt that you were giving them out, handing out as swag?
Exactly, yeah. By day 3, you're wearing handouts from other people. You're wearing, hey, I didn't know you guys worked with the Widget Gun Company. No, they just gave me the shirt. So
there you go. There you go. Clean. Hey, let's do a little bit of a change up. Let's do a shout out to our sponsors and talk about our event now. Let's do it at the beginning of the show as opposed to the end.
All right, let's do it.
So, folks, just want to first of all give a shout out to our sponsors who are going to be, most of whom are going to be also covering the expenses at the SHOT Show. Guerrilla Machining, fantastic organization. Same thing with Grid Defense. If you are looking to manufacture or build your own firearm, these are the folks that you want to go to. So make sure you follow their links in the description of this video. The California Republican Assembly will be represented at SHOT Show by myself. But it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is the fastest growing and the largest, by the way, conservative organization in the state of California, fighting against the libtards there, who are seeking to take away our rights and our freedoms. But Mike, we also have a number of sponsors who are going to be sponsoring our event at the Hofbrauhaus on Monday night. That's January 17th, starting at 7 p.m. You want to tell us who they are?
That's right. We got our good friends from Next Level Training will be there. In fact, they'll be giving away a CERT laser training pistol at some point during the evening. Our good friends from Gun Tech USA, they said they're bringing swag and giveaway. They didn't tell me what. They're just bringing it, so we'll have that there as well. Our good friends at Keltec, we'll be seeing them. They'll be bringing all sorts of crazy stuff. And I did get a little phone call last night. We'll be getting a visit, just a visit is all I got so far, from our good friends at the Firearms Policy Coalition.
Oh, yes. That will be phenomenal. Definitely our good friends over at FPC. Now, I also wanted to let you guys know. Now, this is a product of not just Arms Room Radio, but also of 2A News Corporation. Their site is in the process of being relaunched, and that is where you'll find the new home of the Rundown will be there. That will be launched at the beginning of SHOT Show. So that Monday when we're doing our shows and our interviews from SHOT, actually starting that night, The new website for 2A News will be up, will be launched, and would encourage you guys to go there, visit it, sign up for the new. They're gonna have a newsletter, all of that fun stuff. Encourage you guys to get plugged in. Anyway,
Is this the one where I have to write a story every day for?
well, maybe not every day, but yeah.
This is, I think
You
I'm
don't
very
have to do it
committed
every
to.
day, but you have to do it every day.
Well, listen. Next week will be easy because you're going to get the captain's log every day of what's going on at Shot Show from me.
Exactly. See that's an easy one. Bam,
Yeah,
boom, pow. Real simple, real simple.
yeah.
So with that, we will go ahead and we will get on to the news today. All right. News item number one. A lot of folks. Well, let's just be honest. I think those of us on the right, those of us who've been following objective media, I won't say right leaning or objective media. Those who've been following know that there is a whole lot of confusion from the White House on the issue of COVID-19. We know that they have been sending mixed messages back and forth, and now finally you have people both in the administration and some people who left the administration basically pointing out there's a whole lot of confusion that is in the Biden White House when it comes to COVID-19. In this particular piece, NBC News of all people notes that about a half a dozen former health policies, including members of Biden administration teams, said that Biden administration needs urgent strategy reset. Now, what are they talking about? And if you start with the very beginning of the article, it makes it very clear. So Biden says that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, but that has only confused the boosted Americans who are homesick, because we know that a bunch of people who've gotten the vaccine, well, they're at home. Also, he notes that he's pushing for schools to stay open with testing, but there's almost no access to home tests for people to know whether or not they actually have COVID and whether or not they should actually go to school. Now, Mike, to me, this is just another example of just how far behind the mainstream media has been on a lot of this reporting, and it appears like they are trying to catch up, but they've been way behind, because we knew this year and a half ago that they were confused.
Yeah, this is not anything new for this White House, right? They're confused about what time Joe's supposed to eat his pudding. This guy's. I watched a video yesterday of him wandering around the grounds on the White House, just lost. So it was fun, but yeah. Listen, their policy coming out now that they don't have any consistency. The stories coming from every different direction on what's going on with COVID, what's the latest strain of COVID, what's the vaccination status, who's vaccinated, who's not, who's getting sick, how many people in the hospital. They have no straight line answer that they're giving. It's just like everybody's been told make something up, and they're all doing a rather good job of coming up with separate answers and confusing everyone.
Oh yeah, no, and what's very frustrating about it is that these are the folks that we're supposed to trust, right? We're supposed to
Right.
trust the White House. We're supposed to trust the media. But what's interesting about the media is that they haven't bothered to fact check the White House. They haven't bothered to take a look at some of these things that are coming out of the White House. And once again, even out of Dr. Fauci, even when Trump was there, what I will give credit for folks like Fox News and OAN and a lot of the conservative and a lot of the conservative and alternative media is they've actually not just listened to the government experts, but they've actually gone to and listened to the experts, those in private industry, those who may not necessarily be in agreement with the majority, or not the majority, with the institutions. And now we're finding out just how often the institutional knowledge was wrong, and how some of these alternative sources of information were in fact correct. And if the media was actually doing their job, they would have known this a year ago.
Craig, we know we're behind. We know we're a step behind. It's amazing that we're seeing U.S. scientists and U.S. doctors so far behind on this. Now, remember, the Omicron doesn't start here, or the virus, the corona, the COVID, whatever you want to call it, didn't start here. It came from Wuhan, swept its way through Asia and through Africa before it finally made it to Europe and here, except for some of the West Coast, which we know came through China direct into the California and Nevada markets. But you would think we'd be able to get up on this now. It's been 2 years almost. You'd think we'd be able to put people on the ground somewhere and have up to date information. You know, the Europeans seem to be, you know, a minimum 2 to 3 months ahead of us on everything that comes out with COVID. Their study yesterday they released said, listen, all our studies about multiple vaccinations and multiple boosters, yeah, you're destroying your immune systems. It's not going to help you. It's going to make you sicker in the long run. So that coming out of Europe now, I can't wait to see how Fauci, comes back and the CDC comes back and says that another lie from the European partners in all of this.
Yeah, I will tell you, I have tended to lean on the information and the data that's been coming out of the United States, but looking to information that's been coming out of Europe or other places, whether it's Europe or whether it's Israel or South Africa, and looking at that data as, okay, that may be where we're going, but I've just come to the realization that a lot of the information that's coming out of the United States is either, here's what it is. I'm not going to call it just false in terms of the scientific data. I'm going to say that it's way behind
Yeah, and
because
I see a lot of the that medical data that comes out of South Africa or Europe, and then what my brain does is, okay, how are they going to spin this in the next 2 or 3 months? You know,
right. Well, like they're still like crazy about like lockdowns and stuff like that. But if we look at what happened once again in South Africa, we
yeah,
will realize that this is going to be a relatively short period. It's going to be a lot of people are going to get it. A lot of people are
yep,
going to have to be quarantined for short periods of time. We're going to quarantine them whether they are symptomatic or not. But we're going to
right,
quarantine them. And that's what's going to cause a lot of the havoc and a lot of the problems when it comes to staffing and stuff like that,
right,
because people are going to be quarantined because they tested positive, whether or not they're actually sick. Remember, testing positive does not necessarily equate to being sick,
right,
right? That's
right.
that now that you still may be symptomatic. I mean, not symptomatic. You may still be contagious, but you are not symptomatic. Um, anyway, I know that if we follow what's going on in South Africa, that this is not going to be a long extended period of time, or it shouldn't be anyway.
No,
So
they're done already with it. They're over it. They've
right,
moved beyond. Yeah,
exactly. But we shall see. I once again, I have little to no faith in our government to make appropriate decisions about
right.
what is what and where is where things
Yep,
are in
yep,
fact supposed to be. So
yep.
it is what it is. What it is. It is what it
It
is.
is.
Okay, moving right along to our next story. Um, so yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Anyway, Joe Biden basically went to Atlanta, Georgia, and he gave a speech. And in his speech, he made a number of comparisons that were way. He said a number of things that were way out of line. He literally made the point that if you don't, he was talking about supporting the voting rights legislation, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, the legislation would basically or basically it would be federal control of elections. It would have the federal government do exactly what the founding fathers did not want, which was give the federal government control over all elections. There were a lot of changes that were made to various different states and local elections because of, or in the name of, trying to address COVID-19. And many of those changes were not written in law. They were put in place by local election officials, by executive branches of various different governments, but were not codified in law. So, what many legislatures did, in particular in Republican states, was they actually, some of the things that were done, they codified in law. Things like allowing for extended voting. Things like allowing people to use voting drop boxes in various different areas. And what it did was it put in place parameters for how those things are to be done. But it pretty much took some things back to the way they were pre-COVID, right? The way in which elections in that particular place were before, with some of these additions. Well, now they're trying to say that because Democrats are able to cheat under these rules that some of these folks put in place, they want to keep those rules in place. And the best way for them to do them in their eyes is by having the federal government take over elections. Well, Joe Biden came back and said, these are just some of the statements that he made during that. Here he says, "Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace?" who was a Democrat at the time? Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor, who was also a Democrat at the time? Do you want to be on the side of Abraham Lincoln or Jefferson Davis, who once again was a Democrat at the time? And once again, it's interesting. So what you had was Dick Durbin, of all people. Dick Durbin came out and said that, well, the president may have gone too far in some of these statements and some of these comparison in his Georgia speech. I would say, yeah, he did.
Yeah, it sounds like the Democrats might need more Dick. Just get the best bit of conversation from him right there. He seems to be doling it out. But Craig, this is just more reflection on the last story. Here we have no clear guidance, no clear train of thought on anything coming out of the White House, no matter what the topic is dealing with. It's a massive disarray. Throughout every level, everything they're trying to do, every piece of legislation, every piece of policy that they come up with, we all sit around and scratch our heads and go, what are they doing now? What are they doing now? And it's so hard to figure out. Now, elections? We're going to go back to what? We're going to move forward but go backwards at the same time. Okay, got it. As long as we're clear on this, it's just a complete lack of consistency from the White House.
Well, and that's because they have no real ideological understanding. First of all, they have no real understanding of what is going on. The only thing that they can do is they can appeal to emotion, because when you appeal to actual intellect and you look at the legislation that has been put in place in many of these states, in many cases it has a greater allowance. It promotes the ability to vote more than places like New York, like Colorado, like Vermont or Delaware. The places where these folks are quote unquote from have stricter voting laws than the places that have actually gone and changed some of that. Not so much changed, gone back to or codified some of these new changes in law. When you actually read the legislation, and I've been on a number of different debates on radio and on television where I have quoted the actual legislation, and the person's like, I don't care. They're racist, the people who are proposing this. And that's really all they have.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is not true. Let me clarify, because the first thing you're going to say is, yep, Craig agreed that they were racist. No, they're not. It's by impugning the integrity of the people proposing the legislation, you then can discard what the legislation actually says and actually does. That is, by the way, a 100% a tool of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It is a communist tool. And, I am not one to necessarily turn around and call every person on the left that I know a communist. But when you promote communist policies and you use communist tactics, hey, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, eventually I'm going to call you a duck.
Yeah, exactly right. And listen, we've seen this as part of their strategies for forever and ever and ever, right? But the moment that then candidate Trump, if you recall, started to gain a little footing, a little momentum, what was he? Oh, he's a racist. He's a racist. Never mind everybody in the Democrat Party that had ever taken a picture with him, black, white, woman, whatever, LGBT. He immediately became a white, bigoted racist because they had to defeat him and his white, bigoted, racist, problems. So
because it works. And the problem is that if everyone is racist, then no one is racist. And that is where we wind up to this day. No one is really racist. Because once again, everyone is racist.
That's
there
right.
We go. All right.
That's like potato kind of stuff right there.
All right, moving right along. Time Magazine. This is kind of funny. You have the Time for Mandatory Gun Training. Well, Time Magazine is actually advocating for gun training for everyone who's purchased a firearm. Now, I will just say this. Mike and I have talked about the idea and the issues relating to mandatory firearm training for gun owners. And the fundamental problem is this, is every place you mandate gun training, it becomes a ceiling and not a floor. People think that because I got that training, I know all I need to know, and therefore I don't need to get any more training. So we're against that. But Mike, you and I were talking about this before the show began. We are against the idea of mandatory training for all gun owners, but mandatory firearm safety training for everybody, whether you own a firearm or don't own a firearm, whether you desire to own a firearm or don't. Everyone, there's a potential that you could come across a firearm. Why not know how to safely handle it, or what to do and what not to do and all of that? Why is that not something that we make mandatory for everybody, not just those who desire to own a firearm?
Because the anti-gunners would never allow it. They would never allow it. The pro-gun control movement would never allow this to happen. Craig, listen, to clarify, and we're both on board with this 100%. The required amount of training that Craig and I support for firearms is listed right there in the Second Amendment. So you go ahead and pick out the Second Amendment and do all the firearms training that's required in it, and then Craig and I will be on the same page with you. As far as this goes, Craig, in schools, I really think that the anti-gunners say if they teach firearm safety, then they've lost, because their goal is no firearms at all. They want all firearms gone, so we shouldn't have to teach firearm safety. Well, listen, drugs are illegal, right? And we say and they're illegal for everyone, but we teach kids in school, just say no to drugs. We have an anti-drug awareness campaign so they don't harm themselves. We have, well, some places still have shop classes, and some places still have driver's educations, so we can show them how to work machinery and tools so they do not hurt themselves as they become adults. Why not the same for firearms? It's an everyday part of our life. Stop. You're offended by it. You're hurt by it. The big black scary rifle threatens you in some way. You know what? Get over it. You have a smaller brain than the rest of us, and that's the only reason that you fear the firearm, is because it offends you. The gun, the inanimate object standing in the corner offends you.
Mm-hmm.
Get a life. How about we protect the children? Oh, by the way, it's not your child that you have to worry about. All right.
Right.
What you want is everybody to go through firearms training, because when the kid that has never had some before finds the gun laying out in the bushes somewhere and brings it over to show your kid, and your kid's the one to catch the bullet in the face, then you'll be screaming at the school, why didn't you teach firearm training?
Well, but Mike, here's the thing, though. We know what this is really about.
Safety training, by the way. Let me make sure it's clear there. Firearm safety training. I'm not talking about making these kids marksmen or even teaching them to shoot. I'm talking about safety handling of the firearm.
Well, Mike, here's the thing, and this is what we know. This is what we know about this. This has nothing to do with actual firearm safety. It has nothing to do with promoting firearm safety. Here's what it has to do. It has to do with making the ability to own a firearm more cost prohibitive, right? Because here's what we also know. We also know that accidents with firearms are at record lows. Since they have been measuring it, it's gone down every single year, because guess what? You have organizations like NSSF and the NRA who have programs, and that's not even to include all of the state and local programs that are teaching kids how to safely handle firearms, right? All of these organizations, private organizations that are actually providing this sort of training, once again, they're at record lows. So this has nothing to do with firearm accidents. I mean, 2/3 are suicides, right? I don't think that's necessarily an accident. And those that are not suicides, over 70 or 80, something like 70 or 80% of them are gang or drug related. So once again, I don't necessarily believe those are accidents that we're talking about here. But they don't want to deal with those core issues, right? They don't want to deal with those fundamental issues. What they want to do is make it more cost prohibitive for individuals to be able to own firearms. Because here's the thing, Mike. If you got a little money, you got a little money, I got a little money, I can afford firearm training. Right? But what about the person who's living hand to mouth, who's living in a place where it's high crime, where the police response is really, really low, right? Now you're going to mandate that they get firearm training. How are they going to afford it? They can barely afford the gun and the ammunition because you guys have made it so costly. Now you want them to get training. And then they're going to want them to get insurance that, oh, by the way, is not available. That's what this all comes down to. It's about making it so that those people, the poor people, people who are low income cannot, and people who probably really need the firearm, are not able to get it or to afford it.
Yeah, and that covers a lot of it for those that are the above age. It's a great examples, great thoughts. I'm trying to think more back along the school lines that they can't say, well, we're going to jack the prices up or do this because now we have to mandate training in schools for it. So we're going to roll that back through. Craig, I'm talking 30 seconds worth of training. Listen, we do our fire drills, right?
Right.
And we go outside and we say, don't touch the hot doorknobs, right?
Right.
Don't touch the,
Well,
don't touch the
I'm talking about the
fire.
specific proposal that Time is talking about. They're not talking about full blown training. They're talking specifically about making gun owners get before buying a gun, make them get the additional training. And that's why they're the ones that are
Right.
trying
And
to
this is what I'm saying. The alternative to that should
right.
be the training in schools, because their story starts out with based on the number of deaths, based on the number of shootings. You
Right.
want to stop the number of deaths and the number of shootings, you go to the lowest common denominator. You go to where people have never experienced firearms before. You go to the children and you tell them, and this is all you have to say. Don't touch the gun. See the gun, don't touch the gun, find an adult. Don't touch the
Right.
gun, find an adult. You see another kid with an adult, you yell, put the gun down, you leave and you go find an adult. Don't touch the gun, find an adult.
Exactly.
That's all you have to do. If we taught them all that, we'd have, I can't even pull the percentage out because it wouldn't be accurate. But how much percent less? This is akin to never telling your kid to touch the hot stove, not to touch the hot stove. You know what you're going to get? A lot more burnt hands, right? That's what you're going to get.
Right. Okay, moving right along once again. Well, for those of you who live in the state of California, as I do, you know that the definition of what an assault weapon is, has become, well, it's changed again. Well, at least it changed according to law. We know that there was a period of time where you could register that firearm as an assault weapon if you chose to do so. We know that the system that they had set up was a cluster. It was horrible. It was a hot ghetto mess. They were taken to court by groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition. And now California has had to reopen registration for assault weapons. And we share that with you to let you know that, hey, that if you are going to register your firearm as an assault weapon because it qualifies, it meets the legal definition of what an assault weapon is in the state of California, well, you've got a deadline coming up, right? Where is that deadline? Here it is. You have, I'm looking for the new deadline here.
It's still right there.
The new registration window will run 9 a.m. Thursday until Thursday. That's this Thursday until Thursday, 9 a.m. on April 12th. So you've got until April 12th to go ahead and register your assault weapon. Now, here's what I will encourage you to do before you decide. And let me say this starting off. I am not a lawyer. And most importantly, I am not your lawyer. So don't let what I am telling you be, I am not offering you legal advice as a legal expert. I'm letting you know as a policy person who's seen how a lot of times this data and information is used by the government, in particular the government in California. They just know this. Before you decide, know that there are alternatives to registering your firearm as an assault weapon. Well, let me clarify. Currently, right now, it's considered an assault weapon. You can register it. There are workarounds. There are legal workarounds. Understand the definition of what makes it an assault weapon, and know that if you make certain modifications to your firearm, it will no longer be considered an assault weapon. The most effective way to do it is to actually go featureless in the state of California. And the reason why I say featureless is because the California Department of Justice has already made it clear, yes, that is a legal way in which to own the firearm. And it predates even what they consider to the new definition of what is an assault weapon. So that's what many people have decided to do. And so then they don't, in fact, have to register their firearm. I know that oftentimes what's happening is because when you register it, you have to send them data, you have to send them information, and you have to send them photos. And in some cases, the California Department of Justice can use those photos, if they don't like what they see, as an excuse to come and look at your firearm and look in your gun safe or whatever firearms are stored with it. And that's how people have gotten busted by the California Department of Justice. The main thing that they've used, or one of the biggest things they've used, has been the flash, the muzzle device. They'll look at your muzzle device and they'll be like, that looks like a flash suppressor. Even though it may not have been marketed as one, even though it may not have been promoted as one, if they believe it looks like one, then they believe that would then make it an assault weapon. And they'll come and they'll want to look at it. And anyway, you guys want to be really, really careful about sending photos and pictures of your guns to the government. Now, mind you, if you decide you're not going to register, you're still going to keep it, you're not going to register it, understand that take a time, go read the penal code relating to that, because if you get caught, you're going to have to pay that penalty. You're going to,
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you whatever you decide to do, make sure you are fully informed, please. To make sure you know and understand the consequences so that and recognize and believe that you're willing to pay those consequences. I'm just saying.
Great. This is, I think, with the fourth year now of the law and the third iteration of the website to try and get you to register your firearms. My big question for you out there in California is the over under is 70-30 on the fail rate here. Where do you want to be on the? How long do you think it's going to take for this website fails?
Oh man, look, it's funny. We have Silicon Valley here, and yet our government cannot produce a website that can do anything. Technologically, our government is, oh my God, they're horrible. They are absolutely
Well,
positively. If you say, hey, government, put together a list and put it online, or put together a registration program and put it on, they will find a way to screw it up. That is the state of California. So,
they got to get
um,
their webmaster over in Karachi to to write
yeah.
the new code for them. That's the problem.
Anyway, that's our warning, folks. Just you guys, just be wary. Make good decisions. Make decisions that make informed decisions. Just say same thing we tell you with COVID. Same thing we're going to tell you here when it comes to your firearms. Make sure
and
whatever
don't
decision you're making
post
is informed.
and don't post pictures of your guns on social media. Okay.
Yeah,
The
there you go.
California Department of Justice is looking at those. If you don't think they are, you're fooling
Believe it or
yourself.
not, yes, they are. They are on all the websites, on all the Facebook pages, on all
Yeah,
the Twitter groups, Twitter hashtags. Believe it or not,
yeah.
they are paying attention. They're listening to what we're saying.
Yes,
I'm
they
just
are.
telling you, they
So
are.
is the ATF, by the way.
Yes, so is the
Just,
exactly.
yeah.
So is the ATF. Okay, moving on to our next topic. I always love calling these folks the tolerant left, and the reason why is because they are clearly not tolerant. They definitely do not tolerate anybody who comes out or challenges anything that they believe in. There's a group, and here's an example. There's a group of students in Western Carolina who are facing death threats and faculty mockery because they came out against woke training. Specifically, they come out against critical race theory. Now, these are students who have talked about things like they're like, look, basic concepts like we're a melting pot society. We're not like a stew or a salad, right? Things like the idea that no, just because you're white, you are not race. You are not inherently racist. Just because you are black does not mean that you are automatically oppressed and therefore cannot achieve without the help of the white man. Because these are things that they believe and things that they've said, they face death threats. They face mockery by faculty. I mean, we're not just talking about students going after them. We're talking about the faculty are going after these individuals. I can't believe. These used to be institutions where this is where you had these sorts of discussions and debates where they took place, and now they're going out of their way to shut down any such debate or any such conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? How this all of a sudden is uh, you have those that were sitting here and saying, "Listen, we object to this, and we want you to not be teaching us this woke kind of ideology of yours. We're using the same methods you use to push it. We're having a conversation with you. We're voicing our First Amendment rights. I don't even think they got to the point where they're voicing their First Amendment rights, Greg. This was all internal within the school itself. So this wasn't an external, outside the college, outside the government, exercise First Amendment rights. This was just a course of due process inside the university. Well, I guess the tolerant left didn't think that was good enough or that was too aggressive, so they had to get more aggressive. It's just because you raised a concern, now we're going to bring you the death threats. Now we're going to bring you, all. And this is not just from students. This is from faculty as well. This has gone crazy there. This has gone. Uh, it's gone broke. It's
It's
gone woke.
gone
It's gone
woke.
broke. And
It's
now they're
gone.
trying to. Now they're fighting their way out. And I really think that's what it is. They're broke and now they're cornered. So now they got
Right.
to fight like like a raccoon with his back to a dumpster.
Exactly. And students ought to be able to express their personal views and opinions about something. By the way, critical race theory is taught as though it is fact, but we all know that it is theory. And not only is it theory, but it's theory that has never withstood academic rigor. that's never whenever it is challenged, the only challenge that comes back is, well, if you don't believe this, then you must be racist.
Yeah. Do you have
Clearly,
the?
yeah,
Sorry.
clearly you're
Do you
racist
have the
because you
title of
believe it.
this? Do you have the? Could you bring up the title page of this?
Oh, I just closed it out. Hold on, let me reopen it real quick. There it is. Here, we'll go back to it.
I'm always critical of these type of things, especially listen even from Fox News or nobody else. No, back up to the top there. Western Carolina students, right? This is Western Carolina
Yes.
students. So scroll down a little for me. Don't just scroll down, up then. Scroll up then. Scroll up. There we go. To the title. To the title. The title.
Oh,
Above
the
the
title.
picture. There we go. The title. There we go. Western Carolina students, right? You read this
Right.
in the newspaper, you're like, where's Western Carolina? Is that in North Carolina? Is it in South Carolina? Is that a new state? Is that the new state of Western Carolina? They
No,
couldn't
it's the
put
name of
Western
the
Carolina
institution.
University student?
They go to Western Carolina University.
University, right? Kind of important to put in the title, I think,
Right.
rather than make people go, what are you idiots doing? There's no third state named Western Carolina.
There's no third state called Western Carolina.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Well, the gender unicorn, gender identity, and oh my god. Anyway. It is what it is, dude. It is what it is.
Yep.
Anyway, all right, let's move on to our parting shot as we are running low on time here. All right, our parting shot is a fun one. Once again, there's a new, in spite of the fact, so you guys know that there's a national shortage when it comes to COVID testing. So an individual came up with their own COVID home test. Now, I'm not recommending that you utilize this home test. This is a joke. Once again, for those of you on YouTube who are monitoring this is a joke. Ha ha, funny, funny, funny. This is not serious. We're not promoting this as a way in which to test for COVID. It's sad that we got to do that. So anyway, here it is. So COVID-19 home test, right? So in this particular home test, it says, first you open a can of beer and try to smell it. If you can smell the beer, drink it and see if you can taste it. If you can taste it and smell it, this confirms you don't have COVID. Now, this individual, he said last night he tried the test 19 times and all were negative. Tonight, I am going to do the test again because this morning I woke up with a headache and feeling like I'm coming down with something. I'm so nervous. I think that test came directly out of the Biden administration. What do you think?
Well, I know, the one that comes out of the Biden administration, I think, is the one with it involves the finger and the gluteus maximus, and there's still the sniffing portion of it. But I think that's the one that we get out of the Biden administration.
There you go. That's the one that's coming out of the Biden administration. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's episode. We thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing. Hey, if you get a chance, remember Monday night, January 17th at the Hofbrauhaus House in Las Vegas, starting at 7 p.m. We're going to be having a good time there. We're going to party hardy. We're going to be doing interviews. Would like to encourage you guys to come on out if you are there in town. And if you're not in town, well, tune in because you'll have the opportunity to watch it. We'll be putting some stuff online about it. Please remember, like, share, subscribe. If you just want to listen to us, look for us wherever you find your podcast. It's called the Rundown, 2A News and Conservative Views, and you will find us. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow on Freedback Friday.